Welcome to the Washdown podcast, episode number 32. Today we will be speaking with Julie Baker, who is the founder of Horses&Heroes, and they provide equine-assisted psychotherapy to military veterans and active members and their families, along with law enforcement and first responders and their families, and that's free at no charge. The work they're doing is fantastic. So the conversation's great. We learned a lot of stuff, and I hope you will too. So without further ado, sit back, relax, and here is episode number 32 of the Washdown podcast with Julie Baker.
It's just
hey, you asked me to be here. I didn't volunteer.
No, that's a total bald-faced lie.
No, we sat on your couch. You go, hey, I'm going to do a podcast. Why don't you help me? Or will you help me? Sure, I'll help you. And then I get bitched at every single week.
I'm getting paid at least.
So far I've gotten a free lunch out of it. That's because Moran bought it.
That's just my revenue from the show.
See? So I still got nothing.
Sorry, bro.
This show sucks.
And you thought I gave the thumbs down.
It all comes out in the wash, don't it? Oh, my goodness. All right.
Show sucks.
Whatever.
You suck. Moran's cool. She's awesome. But
Well,
you suck.
yeah, she is awesome. Julie.
I got this. Don't worry.
He doesn't know me at all.
And she's. I don't need to. You're awesome.
Well, just take the win, Julie. Just take the win.
Okay.
So, thanks for coming by. Thanks for stopping by the show and talking with us today. We appreciate it. Why don't you tell us why you're here?
All right. Well, thank you. My name is Julie Baker, and I am the founder and executive director of Horses&Heroes. So we are an equine-assisted psychotherapy program based out of Shawnee, Kansas. And it's kind of a long, interesting story of how I got here. But the long short of it is we provide no-cost counseling for military and first responders and their families.
See? I was right. She's awesome.
Yeah, congratulations. A
Would
broken clock.
you like to be a normal host of our show?
You can have my spot.
No, thank you. No. If you want to go do what I do every day, then sure.
So, Julie, tell us why horses, why equine therapy? What brought that on?
Sure. Like I said, it's kind of a long, drawn-out story, so I'll shorten it.
No, hold on. I'm going to stop you right there. Don't shorten it.
Shorten
We
it?
have all kinds of time.
I'm getting paid by the hour, so go ahead.
Okay. Well, back in 1964. No, I'm just kidding. So I've loved horses my whole life. In sixth grade, my mom announced that she had a horse for me, and I was showing another horse at that time, an Arabian, and was loving it in high school. And so when she introduced me to this horse that she brought home, it was literally a skeleton with some skin stretched over the bones, and it was so terrified of people you couldn't even touch it. So I'm like, wow, okay, 12-year-old. No,
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom.
Best Christmas ever.
like the new car and walking out and finding the old station wagon.
I know, right? But, I guess since I loved horses, I looked past all the perceived setbacks, and I was like, okay, well, the first thing I need to get this horse to trust me. How do I do that? Well, probably just kind of take my time. One day if I can get one step closer, then that's probably progress. And so that's kind of my approach of how I did it. And so this horse that I couldn't touch initially, eventually I could put my hand on it, and then several months later it would let me pet it, and so it got to be over the years where I could do anything with it, and I was like, wow, that was really a cool experience. I sold that horse when I left high school and moved on to college. So fast forward a lot of years. I didn't have horses because I was married to a Marine, and so we moved every 6 months, whether we needed to or not. You know, I had 3 kids. And so when we moved to Kansas City, I came across another horse that I found in a newspaper, and the newspaper ad was herd disbursement, $200. Basically, you come pick out whatever horse you want. So I showed up, and this herd of horses, again, there were bones with skin and some mud attached. It's like, wow, these horses are pretty rough. So I'm looking across kind of the pasture area. I'm not really close to the horses at all. And I noticed this this brown horse, and it looked like it was, you know, conformationally. It had straight legs and had a nice little dish face like Arabians do. And I'm like, well, let me see that one over there. And so the lady brought her out, and she's like, well, she's probably pregnant. And I'm like, okay, you know, 2 for 1. Cool. So
Famous last words.
I know. I showed up the next week with the trailer, and, you know, the guy was kind of just this old grumpy guy, and he's like, well, she's never going to get in that GD thing. And I'm like, well, okay, let's see. So I put the rope across her back, and she like leaped into the trailer, like, get me the hell out of here, basically. And so she wasn't physically beaten, I don't think, but from the condition of her body, I mean, she had been neglected and starved for a very long time. So I found myself in another experience of, okay, how do I rehabilitate this horse? And it was a little different approach. I could touch it. I could walk up to it. She didn't run away from me, but it was more of a, I don't trust you, kind of a side eye, like, what are you doing? Okay, I don't know if I like you, but I'll let you touch me. And it just was it was a different experience. And I mentioned to a friend of mine who's a counselor, and I said, you know, the rehabilitation process was actually faster for the horse that had been physically beaten than the one that had been neglected. And she goes, well, it's like that with people too. I was like, wow, I did not know that. So that's part of the story that got me thinking about the horse aspect. I was like, well, if horses will rehabilitate with the same things that we need, emotional safety, physical safety, time, trust, what if I could use horses to help people that are transitioning from the military? Because at this point in my life, we had gone from active duty, and we were living here in Kansas City in a regular neighborhood in Johnson County. And I really felt the disconnect, you know, when you're living on base and you've got that family and that camaraderie and the support of everybody. And then when you move somewhere else in a civilian world, you're like, kind of, where did everybody go? What happened? And at this point too, my 2 oldest daughters had served 5 years in the Marine Corps, and they had gotten out, and their friends were also Marines. And so the other part of the story is how I came to really decide to really focus our mission on military. My daughter and her husband, who both served in the Marine Corps, were living in Texas. And so I would go down there for all the kids' birthdays. And for one of the birthdays, we were literally in the middle of the birthday party, and my daughter came out, and she was talking to her husband. She goes, you know, your friend, and this friend he had served with in the Marine Corps, and they went to high school together, she said, he's making some comments on Facebook that you need to see. You know, they're making me really uneasy. So he was alluding to ending his life, and he didn't want anybody to come find him. And so my daughter's husband, like, literally left the party, bought a plane ticket, flew to where he was, somehow found him and got him into some help right then and there. And so that weekend was very impactful because, you know, you talk about, you know, I have your 6, I got your back. And then to actually watch it in action, I had never watched it played out. And so I left that weekend thinking, wow, this is, there's a lot to this. And I never really appreciated that part of it, I think, until I saw, him leave his kid's birthday party to go save his buddy. And so, I think after that weekend, I really started focusing on what do I want to do? Because I was in a corporate job. I had all the bells and whistles of a corporate job, hated life. I was like, what am I doing?
High blood pressure, hair falling out,
Yeah. So I was like, well, okay, it's got to do with horses. I know that. And we're going to rehabilitate traumatized horses. I knew that part. And I'm like, we're going to help military, but how in the world do I bring these two things together? Because I didn't know that it was already a thing. And I'm sitting on my couch one day and I got this like nudging, and I was like, okay, God, what do you want me to do? And he's like, Google it. And I'm like, Google what? What do I Google? Equine therapy. Okay. So I typed in equine therapy in my search engine, and up popped EAGALA, which is the Equine Assisted Growth and Learning Association. And they're a global entity, and they train and certify mental health practitioners and qualified horse people to do this work. And my business coach at this point in the corporate world was asking me, why are you doing what you're doing? And I'm like, I don't know, because I can. She goes, well, when you find your why, two things are going to happen. You're going to start crying, and it's going to scare the hell out of you. And I'm like, great. Look forward to it.
You're selling it hard.
I know, right? All right. So here I'm at the computer, and I'm looking at the EAGALA website, and I'm getting more excited. And I was looking through their webpage, and I found this tab called Military Designation. And I'm like, okay. So I clicked on that, and I started reading about this program that they have specifically for military, utilizing horses for equine assisted psychotherapy. And I kid you not, I just started bawling. And this vague idea of how am I going to bring the horses and the military together went to like laser focus. I got out a piece of paper. I wrote down the name, Horses&Heroes. I made a list of, okay, here are the things you have to do. I literally got on LegalZoom and requested the corporate name. And really the rest is history. I went to training, and it all just really literally fell into place. And I knew that I had to connect to mental health practitioners. So this is another cool part of the story. At this point, I was still working in the corporate world. I had gone to the EAGALA training, and one of my clients was a psychologist. And I said, hey, I'm doing this new project, and I need to connect with local, mental health people here that would be interested in what I'm doing. So she handed me a piece of paper, and it had several names on it. And I stuck it in my 3-ring binder where I was kind of keeping everything. And, a few months go by, and I had done all the corporate paperwork, and I got the corporation name, and going through the 501c3 application, and, just getting all that kind of back end stuff done. Sitting on my couch, here comes that nudge again, like, get the piece of paper out. Okay. So I get the piece of paper out, and there's 5 or 6 names on there, and I don't know any of them. So I literally put the, kind of the finger on the paper, and it's like, okay, this one. Typing an email. Hello, my name's Julie Baker, and here's what I'm doing. And, I got your name from so-and-so, and if you're interested, great. If not, pass along my information. I hit the send button. And a little while later, I get a message back like, OMG, you're not going to believe this. And I'm like, what? And it was from this person I had emailed. As it turned out, when I got that nudging to email that person was actually meeting with one of their mentors over coffee. And the mentor was asking this person, what do you want to do with your mental health career? And she's like, well, I don't know, but it's going to involve horses. But I don't know anybody in Kansas City who is doing equine therapy. So that was the conversation, and they were basically like, hey, let's just, it's out there for the world, whatever, let's just kind of see what happens. And she steps out into the parking lot, and ding, her phone dings that there's an email. It was an email from me. So that was another crazy coincidence, because this person's our clinical director still to this day.
That would be my wife.
I don't know if I can name names, but yes,
yeah, you can
Rachel
name
Willoughby
names.
Green.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of how these connections have seemed to happen. Going back a little bit, when I first did the 501c, or when I first did the corporate application on LegalZoom, my husband was a pilot, and so he was gone for that week. And he comes back and he's like, so what have you been doing? I'm like, I started a nonprofit. He's
Can't
like,
leave you alone for 5 minutes.
I know, right? And he's like, you did what? I'm like, I know, right? It's crazy, but you'll have to just trust that the people that know the things I don't know are going to show up, because, I had my own businesses at this point, for profit, but I had not run a nonprofit before. So that was a little different, but it's not easy. Every day is a struggle. Every day is hard, physically, emotionally, but it's all worth it. I mean, none of us, I think, on our team have looked back. I mean, it's just been a worthwhile project. So we started everything back in 2014. We saw our first clients in 2015. Last year during COVID, we had 288 sessions. So, we're on track again this year to probably have over 300 sessions. We are still growing our what we're doing in terms of the services that we're offering. So equine assisted psychotherapy is still our basis, the fundamental service that we provide. Rachel and I just got back from Arizona, and so we're the only program here in Kansas City. I can say Kansas City, can I?
Yeah,
okay.
Sure. You've said it like 5 times already. So a little late for me to tell you to not say it
sorry.
now.
So we're the only program here locally that offers equine assisted EMDR. So EMDR is an evidence-based practice for the treatment of trauma. And there is a type of EMDR that incorporates the horse herd. So now she and I are both certified, and she's a practitioner of EMDR in her private practice. And so, we're the only program here in town that offers that combination of equine assisted EMDR. So we're really pushing to, try to encapsulate multiple types of modalities to help people heal from trauma, the brain, the emotions, and the body. That's our focus.
See? Awesome.
I said that. You dare take what
He
I
didn't say
said.
that, did he? No, I said it first.
Oh, this is why you have no friends.
Moran's my friend.
That's why you have
He
no friends.
tolerates you.
You guys suck.
I'm just here so I won't get fined.
Yeah, we need to work on your
All right,
contract.
Marshawn.
Speaking to the media. So, yeah, obviously, I've known about your program for a little bit of time there. I think the work that you guys are doing are great. And then being able to expand, because we've talked about on this podcast multiple times, and then even just amongst ourselves about how one treatment isn't going to work for everybody. Like what works for him might not work for me, whatever. And
Right.
with you guys branching out and doing, offering different modalities now, I think that's huge.
The EMDR part I was just like, what?
Yeah,
That's fascinating.
it is.
It is fascinating how it works. And I'm not the EMDR practitioner, but just to, read about and see the process in action, like exactly how it's working and what it's doing for the brain. And then to see the horses respond to the people during the EMDR session. I mean, it's almost like we had a client last week, and it was almost scripted. It worked out so well. It was really just one of those things that was like, really, that just happened. I mean, the things that the horses did in response to the person were, you couldn't ask for a better session for that particular client. So it was really phenomenal.
So how does the therapy work with the horses then? I mean, what exactly do you guys do and all that? Because we've kind of talked about it, but it's still kind of foggy for me.
With the EMDR or just in general?
In general.
So horses by nature are a prey animal, so they're hardwired for survival. They have an enlarged amygdala. So, people with PTS typically have an enlarged amygdala and they're hypervigilant. Horses by nature are that way. So they're constantly scanning their environment for potential threats. They can read anything in their environment to determine instantly if it's a threat or not. So, we don't have lions here, but if a lion had just eaten and were to walk by their area, they could even pick up on the fact that that lion was full and it was not looking for food. And vice versa, if the lion's hungry, the intentions are different. And so when our clients come into the space of the horse can pick up on intentions like instantly. And the horses will react from one client to the next differently. So my job as the equine specialist on the treatment team is to observe the horse behavior and then ask questions about what the horses are doing, because they will act differently from client to client. So if we have a client come in and they're talking about something with the therapist, and I'm observing the horses doing something in the arena that might be different or unique, I'm looking for, shifts in their behavior. I'm looking for, if they were standing there and now they're running or walking, I'm like, what just happened? What are they doing? And I'm simply asking questions of the client and letting them bring up their interpretation, because their interpretation is typically what's going on within them. So really my job is a professional observer. I might observe like where the client is standing, where the horses might be standing. And if they're talking about a dynamic at home, I can turn to the horses and look and say, look what the horses are doing as you're talking about your dynamic at home. Is that relevant for you? And then we're just kind of bridging the behaviors of the horses to what they're saying and, bringing up other possibilities that maybe they haven't considered, possibly bringing up some things that they're unaware of. It could be behaviors, it could be belief systems. I mean, you name it, it goes pretty deep pretty quickly.
And everything that you guys do is ground-based.
It's ground-based, yeah. There's no writing. And we believe the clients have their own answers to their whatever they're coming with. So again, they can ask us a lot of questions, but I don't provide a lot of interpretation. It's just like, what do you think?
Well, and that's the thing that I think a lot of people, for some reason, are confused about whenever you talk about therapy. They almost expect the therapist to fix them.
They do,
and
yeah.
It's your job to fix yourself. Now, they can shine a light or point you in a direction or, but it boils down to you need to own your own shit and figure this shit out.
Right. And the horses are really good at bringing up owning your own shit. I mean, they will do things and, it's pretty obvious that there's some sort of behavior parallel that might be happening. And the horses will play it out, and really you just point at the horses and say, what are they doing? Well, that's just like, me and my wife or me and my dad or whatever their relationship struggle is. It shows up within minutes.
What in regards to you dealing specifically with military and first responders, how would your program differ if it were normal civilians?
It doesn't differ in terms of the programming. We're offering no cost counseling, so they get 8 sessions for no cost. So that's the difference. You don't have to pay for it. Okay. We're funded through the Federal Adaptive Sports Grant, the ASG grant. However, that grant, I think, has exhausted their 2021 funding. So we do have an internal fund that we tap into to offer that same no-cost 8 sessions for other populations, and they have to pay for it. Yeah.
Is that something that you usually see insurance reimburse, or is it
Sometimes,
usually a pocket thing?
Sometimes we can offer them a I can't remember the name of it. There's some bill that you can give the client, and then they can, give that to their insurance company for reimbursement.
Gotcha. There's so much into this that I just never even knew.
Yeah. One thing that a lot of people don't realize, and we don't talk a lot about this because it gets scientific, but when we first started talking about equine therapy, the general consensus was, oh, we love petting horses, or, you guys are just playing with the ponies. I mean, there was a lot of skepticism there. There's just a lack of understanding of the science behind it. And it's really interesting in that horses are a lot different than dogs. We get that question quite a bit. Well, I have my dog. It's the same thing. Well, it's really not the same thing because horses are prey animals. So,
can I fit my therapy horse on this flight?
I don't recommend that though. They still poop. And so, the prey aspect is big because a herd of horses are going to just respond differently than a pack of dogs will. The other interesting side note there scientifically is, the PTS brain, like I mentioned, the amygdala. So there seems to be some sort of understanding, kind of an unspoken connection that happens, particularly with the horses that we rescue from the kill pen. So the kill pen horses are unique in that they're usually bought at auction. They're shipped to kind of a holding facility, and then that holding facility crams them onto a big semi-truck, and they drive them down to Mexico or Canada, where they're destroyed and used for meat. And so the kill pen is kind of their last option to be rescued. Our last rescue was a 6-month-old little girl horse, and I don't know how she ended up at the kill pen, but she was underweight, and so malnourished. She was sick, and we rescued her. I paid $100 for her. And she had to go to quarantine for 60 days. And then when she was considered, healthy enough to come home, we brought her home. And what I didn't expect was, some of our really hard police officers really bonded with her, because her story of being discarded, and they felt discarded. Maybe they had a medical discharge, from their duty, and they felt thrown away. And they're like, they really bonded with this little horse. And so that's kind of a side note, but that element kind of took us by surprise, that level of connection between our clients and those kill pen horses. But what I started to say was the other scientific part of it, and this has been studied quite a bit, is horses calm our nervous system. And how that happens is their heart is a big magnetic organ, basically, and emits a magnetic field, and they've measured it about 10 feet out. And so through scientific study, they measured the person and the horse simultaneously. They had sensors on both, and they did pre and post testing of saliva, which kind of indicates the pre-cortisol stress hormone. And they measured their heart variance, so their stress that their body was indicating. And they determined that a person could approach a horse, and within 30 seconds, their stress indicators would drop, and their immune system would respond, and their heart rate and nervous system calmed. And they're like, well, why is that? And they were able to identify it back to the heart, because it's a magnetic structure, and it basically kind of takes over our nervous system and calms our nervous system. So scientifically, we know that when a client even approaches a horse and is in that magnetic field, that they're having a physiological benefit to it. We don't talk about that because it gets kind of woo-woo for some people, but
Yeah, I was actually just thinking about that. I was going to bring it up. Not the woo-woo part, but about the magnetic field and the thing, because I remember wanting to know more about that, because I think Rachel and I have talked about it before, and I'm sure I've heard you talk about it before, but yeah. And, you know, like you said, it's different than dogs.
it is different than dogs. Dogs are great. I love dogs. It's a different benefit.
Obviously, we know that we see physical changes in the human brain after traumatic events. Do we see the same physiological change in horses' brains? Are they similar?
No, horses can discharge their stress pretty much immediately, and that's one of the great teaching tools we use. We can watch a herd of horses react to something in the environment. So they'll either, get startled and face the perceived danger, or they'll get started and they'll start running. But typically, they'll run, they'll check in with each other like, why are we running? Is it over? And they'll stop.
Just keep running.
I know. They'll stop and they'll all turn and face the perceived threat. And then if they determine as a group that it's not a threat any longer, you can watch them all discharge that cortisol. They will either shake their body, or they'll lick and chew, or some will get on the ground and roll around the ground. And what they're doing is they're normalizing their nervous system, and they're discharging that cortisol. So it's really great when we have a group out there and that happens, because we can have the group observe, like, look, this is what happened. They just, their sympathetic nervous system just got fired and they're startled. They're going to check in as a community. They're going to be like, oh yeah, we're good. And they're going to discharge and go back to what they're doing. They don't carry their stress around.
And that's something that...
And I thought dolphins were smart. Holy shit.
That's something that we've talked about, the common misconception that PTS is like this weird, only some people get it type thing. Everybody gets it. It's all in how you deal with it. And most people deal with it without even knowing. It's whenever it becomes PTSD that it becomes a problem.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And I don't know that anybody has an answer as to how or why some people actually have PTSD and others don't. They've said resiliency, community support. If you've got, strong camaraderie that you can talk to and just be open about it. But, still some people really get stuck in that intrusive memory pattern. And that's the part that's really dangerous.
What looks like what would an unsuccessful therapy session look like with a horse, other than getting kicked? I mean, what are you looking for to say?
Oh God, we never had that happen.
But we're seeing benefit versus we're not seeing benefit. What are you looking for to gauge it as successful?
The first thing that comes to mind is if the person's not engaged in their own healing, if they're not trying to get anything out of it, they probably won't. So if they're just showing up and they're just standing there with their arms crossed and they're not trying to do anything, they're not engaging with the horses, they're not engaged with their own, what's going on with your body. I mean, if they're just completely disassociated with everything that's going on, I would say that would be probably a bad session.
That seems to be a common theme coming up today.
Oh, really?
Different conversations that we've talked about of being like, you're never going to heal mentally if you are not committed to healing mentally. And yeah, I think we talked about that ad nauseum.
Yeah.
Last couple episodes.
Yeah. But I mean, it's true. I mean,
sometimes you just need a horse calling you out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but it kind of bears repeating of, you can do whatever, but if you're not committed to healing, and it goes the same with addiction or everything else, you can go through all the rehab you want. You can see all the therapists you want. But if you're not doing the work, you're not going to get any better. You're just going through the motions. That's like taking a whole bunch of steroids, but never going to the gym and lifting a weight.
I agree. Yeah. for sure.
You're not going to get
fuck
the.
you looking at me for?
Because I can.
Yeah.
That had nothing to do with what Jeremy was saying. I just want to look at you.
Okay.
He's over here texting me.
So yeah, it's about putting the work in and being committed, and that's the only way that you will ever see results for
True.
and that's in all aspects of your life. So
Yeah.
stretch out, get out of your comfort zone, go do a little woo woo.
Yeah. Woo woo. Yeah. And the treatment team, we continue to learn stuff about our own shit. Every session, it's like, wow, this came up for me. And that's one thing that we track, is we call it the apostrophe S. So our own shit. It's like, I thought I dealt with that. Okay, I guess I need to work with that a little more.
That's how it was like when we first started this. I was like, oh, I'm in my feels.
Oh, dude.
It was rough.
Yeah.
When our first few episodes.
Those
there.
first couple of, yeah. And Rachel even said something about that, because you were having an issue, and I was, and it was like, yeah, we need to.
Raise your hand if you slept like shit last night. Yeah.
Everybody. All right, so let's do it again.
Yeah, several years ago, I noticed something about myself when I would go out to the farm, and we usually have to move horses from like one space to another for clients to come and have sessions. And so, there would be some days where I'm opening the gates, I'm trying to get horses to go through, and I'm trying to get them to go up this one way, and I'm getting frustrated, and I'm like, starting to raise my voice, and the horses are running like 10 different directions. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And I'm like,
probably laughing at you, as smart as I've learned that.
And then I'm stopped. I'm like, wait a minute. Check in with yourself. What are you doing? It's like, I'm running around crazy like a mad woman yelling at these animals. I'm like, of course they're going to run 10 different directions. Who wouldn't? It's like, what
This
the
lady
heck?
needs the therapy.
It is. So we actually integrated that into one of our sessions. It was like, the herd session. It's like, get these horses to move from here to there. And you'd be surprised what comes up. So for me, I was like, okay, when I'm moving horses now, I, take a big breath, calm myself. I have to just be real chill. Come on, guys, let's go. And when I do that, they just like head to tail, follow up, move in a line. You don't have to run around and be an idiot like I was doing.
What has this done for you?
What has it done for me? What hasn't it done for me? I really do feel like I'm a different person than I was from 2014. My inner, I am completely at ease with what I do. Back in 2014 and even before that, it was a pretty hard time for me personally. So, I had somebody in our family commit suicide. My husband and I were having issues, and there were some serious struggles going on. And so, I feel like when I started doing this type of work and really getting to know myself and what am I thinking, what am I feeling right now, what am I believing about myself in this situation, that's when things really started to turn around. And I think it was through just the act of observing the horses and being more aware of myself. Things shifted. My relationship with my husband got better. My career, now that I'm doing this pretty much full time, still selling real estate though.
Yeah. I was going to say, hold on. Is there something I need to know?
No, I'm just a different person right now. I don't know if I can explain it any better than that.
I love it.
Changing your perspective goes a long way, though, too.
Yeah.
The way you changed everything, and you're doing something that makes you happy, which changes the way you see things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the fact that you're constantly checking in with yourself.
Mm-hmm. That's huge.
I mean, that is huge. And that's something that, personally myself, that's what I do, and it helps a lot is, okay, why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? Or, What's
Usually
going
after I throw a
on?
tool and I start like, hey, wait, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I start throwing stuff. You went too far.
Yeah,
That's when I start checking it.
that is too far. You should be throwing tools, man.
I don't like old ones. I don't the new good ones. I don't throw those. It's the old
You're
crappy
like,
ones.
wait a minute.
Nope, that's a good one. That's a good one. I need to find the bad one.
Yep. Here's my throwing tool.
Yeah. I usually feel better too. I'm like, I feel better. Why'd you do that? All right. That's usually what gets me.
Oh, so how do you guys find your clients? I mean, are people referred to you, or is it something that people can sign up for?
So the majority of our clients find us. Our website is a good, useful tool. We get a lot of inquiries on the website. That's probably, the majority of how people find us. Our team, we do go out and we do talk a lot to other groups, and we do a lot of networking. So I feel like that has helped with, securing clients. But, as the military first responder population is kind of a tough crowd. So
What?
I hadn't noticed.
The hell you say?
getting y'all to show up sometimes is hard. We all have problems.
No, not us. We're the people who help the people with
Yeah.
problems.
True.
We're fine.
True.
I can stop drinking anytime I want.
So, really word of mouth, but the majority of it's probably online, Facebook, website.
What is your website?
It is www.horsesandheroes.org, all spelled out.
Yeah. And we'll put that in the description and all of that.
If
What's your Facebook page?
Horses and, I think it's the and sign, Heroes, KC.
I gotta remember how to do this on the on the
you hit the symbol, then you hit the symbol button again.
for the podcast Facebook page.
Oh,
I remember how I did it last time.
Words are hard.
he's yeah.
Isn't this your job?
No, I was fired. I was
Technology.
fired.
No, I told you.
I even hired my own replacement.
Yeah.
So, Julie, if for the people that are listening, first responders, if they were considering this, what would make them a good fit? Like, what would you say to someone that is questioning whether this is something that could work for them? What would you say to them?
So it's not like traditional counseling. So, I didn't go to counseling when my husband and I were going. I hated it. So from personal experience, going from sitting in a room, just giving answers to things and being in your head is different than being outside and interactive with the horses, because things come up more organically. It doesn't feel like therapy. You're outside and you're not facing a bunch of people just asking you questions. I purposefully will position my body typically facing away from the person so they don't feel like they're talking to me. I'm usually more facing the horses. So for first responders, I think a key component is that it's confidential. So I don't know if things have changed, but through conversations I've had with some officers in the past, when they have a bad call and they go to their internal people to talk about their bad call, the HR record opens up, entries get made, and then when they have an opportunity for a promotion, that same HR folder gets opened up and they can determine if they're fit for duty or not. I've talked to numerous people that were, medically released because they were considered not fit for duty. And I think that's really sad. And so, these officers are forced to go talk to people. They're forced to lie to them about really what's going on. And so Horses and Heroes offers really a confidential means for them to go be just completely open and honest about what's going on. It doesn't go in their HR file. We don't bill insurance, so it's completely confidential. So if anybody's really concerned about that component, then it would be a good fit for them.
Awesome.
That is awesome. It's a big concern, I think, for anybody, and even like law enforcement, of course, but even in our field.
Yeah.
You know, that even goes back to an episode we talked about prior, like when just a moment, I don't want to say moment of weakness, but how it has further impacts later down the road, you know, whether it be taking your guns away, locking you up, or taking away promotional opportunities, career opportunities, just due to, you know, a time you needed help.
Yeah.
Right. And we all, I'm
go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, and
You're
we
the
all
guest.
respond differently under pressure. I mean, so yeah, I don't think anybody should have their weapon removed or their badge removed because they responded in a certain way, or maybe the physiology or their body did something that they are ashamed of, or
Or they kept replaying it over and over or something like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
and then they're like, well, I'm not fit for this job, you know, because I pissed on myself or whatever, you know, happened. I don't know. You know, that shame part needs to be taken out, and it needs to be, I think, retrained to our bodies are going to do certain things when we're fight or flight, because that's what our body does to prepare us to either run or fight. I mean, you know, our intestines will dump because it's lightening the load, and so, you know, stuff happens.
Yeah. Well, you know, and it's unfortunately it is getting better, I will say, but there's still that stigma out there with military, first responders, law enforcement, that, you know, oh, you're having an issue, this ain't the job for you, you know, and that's still out there. Like I said, it's getting better, and the more people that talk about it and try to remove that stigma, the better that it's going to be. And then also, I know from talking with, you know, law enforcement officers that we know that, you know, they're making changes as well, but there is still, for them, the implications are heavier than it would be for us, because they could lose their job, you know, like you were talking about, and that needs to change as well, because you don't want people out there who are jacked up enforcing the law, but then you won't take care of your people to keep them from getting jacked up. I mean, it don't make no sense.
It doesn't make sense.
It's like wiping before you poop.
Yeah. So, well, and I'm glad, you know, you're all are creating an avenue for people to talk openly about it. I mean, you know,
Can we get one of your horses on the episode to interview?
I'll bring Henry in here.
Okay,
He'll eat everything off your table though, so you'll have to. Yeah.
Nelson will just.
My wife will
bill
kill
us.
all of us.
Yeah. We will do that before we move to the new studio.
That sounds like a new studio thing. Maybe an outdoor episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys can come to the farm and do it there, and then we'll bring Henry in.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Kind
I
of see
would-
it in action too.
I would totally
That'd
set
be
up
neat.
shop in the middle of a pen. I totally would.
Yeah, we'd have to figure out the sound thing.
Yeah.
Wind, I think, would play hell with these microphones.
That's a good point. Dude, it's so cool.
It would be. We could just film it on a GoPro, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
I think it'd be cool.
Let's do it. Dibs.
We're all going to watch your therapy session and take notes.
It's going great, guys.
What? Because the horse runs away from him.
I just want to love you. Come back.
It's running away from me like everything else.
What's the common denominator?
Oh, my goodness. All right.
I never would have thought about horses like that.
No, I had no. I mean, I knew horses were cool, but I didn't know horses were badass.
Well, you know, whenever Rachel came home and she was telling me, hey, I met this cool lady and this and it's horses and therapy and all, and I'm sitting there and I'm going, oh, that sounds really cool. I have no clue what you're talking about. How does that work again? Well, no, but it's this thing and it does it. I'm like, okay. I mean, you know.
So back
It
to your
works.
Netflix documentary.
Probably. Yeah. Or back to video games.
Back to working on patches.
This is pretty patches.
Been a couple episodes I had to.
Yeah. Where's your Jeep at?
Shut up.
No,
Yeah,
but I could tell like she was so passionate about it, and you know, she's really, really smart and really, really good at her job. Like, all right, you go, just do your thing. If it works, it works. So,
Well, I'll share with you a story. It didn't happen at our farm, but this is an example of shit that horses do that you just can't predict. So there was this didn't happen at our farm, but it was, I think, in Illinois.
I can't stress that
Can't
enough.
stress that enough.
did not happen anywhere near my vicinity.
My insurance agent is listening.
No, it's not that bad, but it's pretty cool. So there was a young girl in high school, and she was having a lot of trouble in school, and the counselor couldn't get her to open up, and they were really kind of at a standstill with her. And so, you know, she recommended to the family to go to family therapy, and the dad was like, no, I'm not doing that. So she's like, well, how about equine therapy? And he's like, well, you know, that sounds okay. So the whole family was scheduled to go to the farm for equine therapy. And so they show up, you know, in their Lexus. They get out. They have designer clothes on, patent leather shoes. Every hair is just so. And
I know where this is going.
the treatment team is kind of like looking at each other like, okay, this is different. You know, typically people show up in their jeans and, you know, boots or tennis shoes. And so they go through their session, and typically a session's about an hour, and we're in an arena kind of environment, and the horses are just loose. And so they can choose to be wherever they want to be. And so at the end of the session, the people kind of circle up, and they're talking about things that happened in the session. And this little miniature horse named Twister comes from across the arena, cuts through the circle, backs up to the dad, and shits all over his shoes. And he's got patent leather shoes on.
Awesome.
And the dad stands there and totally ignores the fact that he has horse shit on his shoes. And the family, the mom and the daughter, are like, you know, looking away like, I'm not even going to acknowledge the fact that he has shit on his shoes. We're just going to pretend it's not there. And so, you know, the treatment team, their eyes are kind of big, and they're like, well, that was unique. You know, that's one of the things that we look for, stuff that happens. It's like, well, that's never happened before. So next week, family shows up, pretty much the same scenario. They go through their session, and they're at the end of their session, and here comes Twister again. Same thing, backs up to the dad, lifts his tail all over his shoes. And now the treatment team is like, what is going on? I don't get it. And so the rule of thumb is it has to happen 3 times before we'll bring it up to the client and ask the client what's going on. So week 3, family comes. Sure as shit, here comes Twister.
Are they still wearing the designer shoes?
Probably. I don't know that for a fact.
Remember, it didn't happen at her farm.
So,
That's a question I would have asked, though. I'll be honest. I want to know. Did they learn the lesson the first time?
I don't know. So this guy ends up with shit on his shoes for 3 weeks in a row, and the treatment team is like, okay. So we've noticed. This is how we have to talk in this session.
We've seen some things.
It's called clean language. Okay, so we can't just come right out and say you've got shit on your shoes. It's like, so I've noticed that for 3 weeks now, one of us has ended up with something on our shoes. Okay,
He's got the poo on it.
and so as soon as the equine specialist said that, the daughter, kind of under her breath, says, it's because he's full of shit. And the counselor didn't hear it. So she's like, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Can you say that louder? And the girl says, it's because he's full of shit. And when she said that, the mom backhands her across the face and tells her to shut the fuck up. And when that happened, a big horse stepped in between mom and daughter. And came out right then and there that the dad was sexually molesting the daughter, and the mom was covering. And so
Oh, shit.
Wow.
he was arrested on the spot. And that's just one of the, I mean, that's kind of extreme. Things don't happen like that all the time, obviously. But for Twister to know to come shit on his shoes, that was the one thing to get that girl's secret out in the open.
That's so cool.
And not that they're going to know your deep down secrets. It's just, it's not like that. But,
Kind of wish the horse would have kicked him.
that girl needed to have a voice. Okay. She didn't have a voice. And that little horse was her voice that day.
I mean, good for the horse. Big horse should have kicked mom and dad.
Leave it to Twister to throw a twist in that story. Sorry, I couldn't help it.
And you can actually hear that story on YouTube. It's called Shit on the Shoes, I think.
I have to find that story.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Well,
It's a good horse.
yeah,
Extra meal tonight.
that's crazy. I don't even know what to say now.
I know you guys
It
just got
didn't-
really quiet.
Yeah, it didn't get. That was not the ending that I thought was going to happen.
No.
I thought it would be something else.
I just
I
didn't
didn't
realize.
see that part going.
I just never realized horses were, I think, as intuitive as that they are. They obviously aren't stupid animals, but I never knew. I never knew.
Yeah.
Blows my mind. Can we get a horse?
Can we get a
Can
horse?
we get a horse? I want a horse.
I have 3 horses.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we have 9, so you can just come visit. How about that?
Okay, deal.
They're
Yeah.
expensive. You have to really enjoy
There's so
picking
much
up poo.
shoveling.
Oh my gosh.
No, I don't enjoy
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
at all.
I think I have a Popeye arm on my left arm from all the,
Oh man. All right. Well,
Was that a buzzkill? Sorry, guys.
It really wasn't. No, it wasn't.
no, I mean it's a great illustration. I'm just trying to find words.
Yeah.
It's a great illustration of how effective the therapy can be about getting out what needs to get out.
Yeah.
You know, and like we, joked about and talked about before of owning your shit, and of horses doing things that kind of will bring that out of people. I don't know. It's definitely a therapy modality that I think is underutilized.
Still sounds like it's fairly new, though.
It's been around
it's-
22-ish years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's used all over the world.
But I mean, in terms of treatments and
What-
stuff like
what's-
that, you
what's-
still consider that
I don't think
somewhat new.
it's
'cause
not
of
as
how long it's
readily-
been.
Well, I would say it's not as readily available.
It's definitely not as available. I agree with that too.
Yeah.
Julie, what started it? Who said, that horse looks like it can do some shit? Like, how did it begin?
The founder of what we do, like how it started, EAGALA. So the founder, Lynn Thomas, she was a stay-at-home mom of twins. She was a counselor, I believe, already at this point. She was a licensed counselor. So I can't imagine this, but she was like, I think I'll start a nonprofit because staying home with twins isn't keeping me busy enough. I don't know. So that was back in 1999. And in 2001, I know, like, who does that? In 2001, it was already global. So how in the world she went from, I'm starting this association.
Did she grow up with horses?
I don't think she was a horse person. I think she had some awareness of it, obviously, but I don't know the background of her horse knowledge.
I mean, horses have been in the earliest days of man. Obviously.
Oh yeah, they're in the Bible all over the place. Yeah,
and it's just it makes sense that after about 3,000 years, someone was like, "I bet they could do more than pull shit. Let's try it out."
Yeah, maybe.
And just
yeah. How they made that leap from
that light bulb went off.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody had to see something at some point, and I don't know. I think it's awesome.
Well, stuff like Twister probably happened quite a bit.
That could be.
Like,
Yeah.
Twister now works for the feds.
Horses and narc.
Twister, we need you to kick this door in real quick.
Yeah. Remember the story? He's a mini. He's not kicking too many doors in.
Now I have this like vision of like Twister with tactical goggles and a vest, like storming in with the SWAT team, and it's not going away.
hey, that's a new outfit we can make for Henry. Yeah, Henry's kind of our little mascot. He has all sorts of outfits. It's crazy.
Yeah.
He
You
wears
do need to
Build-A-Bear
get him a
boots.
tack vest.
Yeah.
What? One more time.
Yeah.
One
He's
more
got
time.
surf shorts. He does. He's got golf attire with Argyle socks. Santa
is
Claus.
awesome.
Not Bugs Bunny. The Easter Bunny. You know, I mean, he's ridiculous. He loves wearing outfits and going out to meet people. It really is ridiculous. Yeah.
It's can't get any cooler.
His board shorts really are cute. Yeah.
You need to get a picture with Henry and Tucker.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Henry
or
is
Henry
in
on
awe.
top of Tucker.
Henry's in awe of big horses. We were at an event, a 5K event, and the mounted police were there, and there was a big draft cross. And if Henry's like jaw could drop, I mean, he was just standing there like staring at this horse like, oh my God, you're so big. And he wouldn't move. I mean, he was just standing there staring at him. It was quite
Those
funny.
horses are big too.
They are, yeah.
Like, what lab did you grow that thing in?
Yeah, we'll definitely have to do some photo ops with Tucker and Henry.
Oh, yeah.
Can we do it today? Let's do it today. Let's go as far today. Come on, let's go.
Well, I will be there shoveling shit later, so.
I don't want to do all that. We'll come back to that.
You got to earn the picture.
Yeah. As soon as there's work to be done, Moran's.
Well, for your worth the shit as a leader.
Oh, sorry. Did we go back to how I was going to motivate you earlier? Is it time for me to do the drill instructor motivation?
No, dude, there's a horse with board shorts. I don't give a shit what you say.
Oh, my goodness. And on that note, Julie, thanks for stopping by today. We appreciate it. We think the work that you're doing is,
So cool.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Like you said.
I can't. I fully agree.
yeah,
It's
it's awesome. So everybody check out Horses and Heroes. They have their website. We'll put a link in the description for everything. Yeah, you guys are doing great work.
Well,
So-
thanks for having me. This was fun.
Do
You
you
guys
have-
all definitely have to come out and do
Do you have an indoor pen?
not yet. We need one.
Do you have stalls?
Some, yes.
So we could like set up in the stalls.
Yeah, and we have an office.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have an office down there. We could
Yeah.
do it there, for sure.
Deal.
So
I'm so excited.
Moran's gonna go out and buy a whole new outfit. You're gonna see him in a cowboy hat and some chaps.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Maybe a duster.
Henry
Yeah.
has chaps. I made him chaps.
That is
So-
awesome.
He's got little leather chaps and a cowboy hat.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
it's going to be like 85 pictures of Moran and Henry on our Facebook page. A day at Horses and Heroes with the Washdown podcast.
It's gonna be a fashion show.
All
You
right.
guys are welcome anytime.
I think it'd be awesome. I'd like to go see it too. I know Rachel's talked about it a lot, and of course Jeremy has too. But
Yeah.
I think hasn't really dug into what you guys do, and it was actually, I mean, not actually, but it was very interesting.
Well, thank
Something
you.
I'd never would have thought of.
I forgot everything at horses with board shorts. I'm sorry.
Thanks everybody for stopping by. If you are having a problem, there are resources out there. If you know somebody who's having a problem, let them know what those resources are. We'll put linked in the description for Julie and Horses and Heroes today. So thanks for stopping by and take care of yourself.